the top stories. Traditional carnival events cancelled for Sugar Mass 49. Jamaica's CMO says the government's response to COVID-19 remains intense, and President Trump and First Lady test positive for coronavirus. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Friday, October 2nd, 2020. I'm your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Nationally, all pageants, the extremely popular Juve Street Jam, Grand Parade and Last Lap celebrations have been cancelled for this year's Sugar Mass 49 festivities. This was announced by Minister of Culture Honorable John L. Powell, who was at the time delivering an address to the nation via the St. Kitts Nevis National Carnival Committee, or SKNNCC, Facebook page on Friday, October 2nd, 2020.
The committee, with the approval of Cabinet, has made the decision to cancel traditional events for this year's National Carnival, which would attract mass gatherings, such as all pageants, Juve, Grand Parade, and Last Lap celebrations.
Powell said in order to accommodate patrons during this challenging time, creative virtual events will be held to highlight and celebrate the culture of our people.
Our National Carnival was established with the aim of highlighting our arts, music, and folklore, and in so doing, uniting our people. As such, the committee, along with its partners, intends to create virtual events that are new and creative, as well as scaled-back activities for the end-of-the-year celebration.
He added that a Sugar Mass 49 calendar of events will be released shortly. The minister said the committee is pledging its fullest support to the National COVID-19 Task Force, the police and healthcare workers who have established protocols to protect residents and citizens from the novel coronavirus. He said the Ministry of Culture and the National Carnival Committee looks forward to presenting Sugar Mass 49 in its new format to carnival lovers locally, regionally, and internationally. In other news, an examination of rejected ballots for constituency number 1 in the June 2020 elections is taking place today following a decision made by the High Court judge in the case brought by PAM candidate Ian Liburd, challenging the result of constituency number 1. The assistant registrar, along with the supervisor of elections, are required to open the ballot boxes and examine the rejected votes one by one to determine if each vote is valid. The rejected ballots will be inspected in order for him to verify the claim that of the 98 rejected votes, 60 were in favor of Mr. Liburd. Ambassador Liburd's claim indicates that those ballots would have granted him a win against current parliamentary representative for constituency number 1, the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley. And as we wrap up local news, the Compliance Task Force and its operations were the areas of focus on Thursday when hosting of Policing With You. Sergeant Trevron Richards was joined by the coordinator of the task force, Sergeant Sophia Henry, and Customs Officer and Task Force member Malik Liburd. In responding to a question about what the task force is, Sergeant Henry indicated that this compliance task force is the second of its kind and outlined the role of the task force.
In this one now we have persons. Those who have persons from government entities. These are persons who come from the public now who are newly trained for 2 weeks. And the role is to go out and inspect business places, private entities, buses, ferries, and taxis for them to come in compliance or adherence to the regulation. First, we started regulation 14 of 2020. Now we're at 42 of 2020.
Member of the task force member Malik Liburd spoke of some of the things the members of the compliance task force are trained to assess.
The task force is provided a checklist that they utilize when they go to the business places. The checklist asks for certain information like the name of the business, the location, the head of the business, the contact number, and the email for the business. And when the task force goes to the business, they look for social and physical distancing protocols that are to be put in place. So the distance inside and outside, the 6 feet distance, we look for that. And also the 30 square foot per person inside of the business.
He spoke of the challenges faced by the task force in the execution of their duties.
This is a new norm, the masks, the hand sanitizers, and we face a few disgruntled maybe business owners and customers alike. Like I alluded to earlier, the bathrooms, most of them have running water and soap, but not the paper towels. And also the distance markers, they would have the signs, the hand sanitizers, but not the distance markers. So regarding the challenges, those are the challenges.
Policing with You airs every Thursday on ZIZ Radio from 9:15 a.m. on the morning show with the GQ. We now move to news on the regional scene. Jamaica's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Jacqueline Bisosa Mackenzie, says the community transmission phase of COVID-19 in Jamaica has been met with a great deal of disappointment and a sense of failure, but is not due to a failed response to the pandemic. She says the government has so far managed the crisis in 3 different spaces, the ports of entry being one. Here's more in this report.
COVID-19 cases in every parish continue to rise, with the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew confirming the most cases, with over 2,400. Even though the transmission of the virus can no longer be easily traced from one person to the other, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bisosa Mackenzie doesn't believe this is due to a failed response to the pandemic.
In a country like Jamaica that depends on travel and trade, we have probably more than our population that is living in country that lives outside of Jamaica, and that there is considerable travel between Jamaica and different countries. So was it inevitable that we would eventually have reached to a point where we would have a significant volume of positive persons in country, that we would start to see what looks like an exponential spread?
She says the government has so far managed the crisis in 3 different spaces, the ports of entry being one.
Our presence was very visible and everybody knew we were managing COVID because it was clear we were at the airport, people were seeing us. When we went into cases in the community, with all the community interventions that we did, again, very visible.
While the government has to maintain protocols at the airports and in communities, its main focus at this time is on the healthcare facilities, the CMO says.
This is a very intense activity, because what this means is that every single day, certainly from the central level, we have to monitor every single hospital, we have to monitor every single bed. We have to keep a check on every confirmed, every suspected case that is in hospital.
She adds that this is the hardest part of managing the pandemic. And while many persons believe the government is not pulling its weight, Dr. Jacqueline Bisosa Mackenzie says its response remains intense.
Our activities may not be so visible, but it's just as intense. It's more critical at this point.
Aladdin.
Students and teachers of the Grenada Boys Secondary School are celebrating the school's success in this year's CSEC examinations. 2 of the boys secured a record-breaking 18 and 16 passes respectively. More in this report.
Giovanni Digans and Saku Sam are the top 2 of the 17 young men who performed well in the 2020 CSEC examination from the Grenada Boys Secondary School. Achieving 18 passes with 16 grade 1s is Giovanni Digans, and 16 passes with 13 grade 1s is Saku Sam. The young man, who remained humble, says it was hard work and many late nights, and the results are the fruits of their labor. They expressed how they felt when they received their results.
I mean, it was a good performance, I will admit, because I know my parents and the school and stuff, they're all very proud. But for me, it's just something I did. There were a lot of classes like up to sometimes 9 o'clock, classes during lunchtime. But the teachers here, they really helped. God really helped, and I think, yeah, that's what really prepared me.
I feel ecstatic, right? Because knowing where I started from and how it has all unfolded for me, I think that it's quite an amazing achievement, and it's been a while since I've been waiting for this.
Principal of the Grenada Boys Secondary School, Philip Thomas, said he is very proud of all the students' accomplishments, as it is a manifestation of what the school stands for.
It's a great feeling. You know, words can't really explain it. You know, it's just a manifestation of the extremely hard work that parents, members of staff, and students have been doing here at the GBSS.
Cheryl Gibbs is the mother of Giovanni DeGans. She said she was not surprised with her son's results, as he always excelled academically. She gave this advice to parents.
You cannot expect them to have confidence in themselves if you don't have confidence and demonstrate that same confidence in them. Support is not, some parents might be able to provide financial support. If you can't, so then you just have to be there to provide emotional support, because from time to time they're going to need it.
Sekou Sam will be heading to the T.A. Marisho Community College, TAMCC, with an aim to be a neurosurgeon. Giovanni DeGans will also be attending the college, but is unsure about the career path he will take. For GBN News, I am Rina Pear reporting.
On the international scene, overnight, President Trump revealed that he and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for coronavirus and are now quarantining inside the White House. The news followed word that Hope Hicks, one of the president's closest advisors, had contracted the virus. Here's more in this report.
Stunning announcement overnight, President Trump delivering his own diagnosis on Twitter. Tonight, the First Lady and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together. Melania Trump with a tweet of her own. We are feeling good and I have postponed all upcoming engagements. The president's physician reporting President Trump is well, but did not indicate whether the president was experiencing symptoms, saying the president and Mrs. Trump plan to remain home within the White House during their convalescence, adding, "Rest assured, I expect the president to continue carrying out his duties without disruption while recovering." Still, the announcement throwing the future of the country's leadership into uncertainty. Late Thursday, the president speaking by phone to Fox News, confirming that one of his closest advisors, Hope Hicks, had become infected by the virus.
She tested positive. She's a hard worker, a lot of masks. She wears masks a lot, but she tested positive.
And revealing that he and the First Lady were awaiting their own coronavirus test results.
I just went out with a test. I'll see what, because we spent a lot of time, and the First Lady just went out with a test also. So whether we quarantine or whether we have it, I don't know.
Hicks is regularly in close contact with the president, seen here without a mask at his Pennsylvania rally last Saturday. Flying on Air Force One to Tuesday's debate in Cleveland, again no mask. And on Wednesday, traveling with the president to a rally in Minnesota. A source telling NBC News Hicks tested negative the morning of the Minnesota trip, but began showing minor symptoms that evening. She was quarantined on Air Force One for the return flight to Washington. The president suggesting service members and law enforcement officials may have given her the virus.
It's very, very hard when you are with people from the military or for law enforcement, and they come over to you and they want to hug you and they want to kiss you because we really have done a good job for them. And you get close and things happen.
In a pre-recorded speech to the Al Smith charity dinner Thursday, President Trump contradicted his own public health experts, insisting the virus would soon be in the rearview mirror.
The end of the pandemic is in sight.
The president, who's been reluctant to embrace social distancing and masks at the debate just days earlier, saying this.
Look, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I wear masks when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
At least 80 people have been arrested in Hong Kong after defying a ban on protest. Al Jazeera's Adrian Brown reports on that story.
Under the shadow of COVID-19 and deepening concerns over a new security law, this was a subdued National Day for many people here. But at a ceremony attended by Hong Kong's political elite, the territory's leader, Carrie Lam, said the legislation had brought stability.
Over the past 3 months, the plain truth is, and it is obvious to see, that stability has been restored to society, while national security has been safeguarded, and our people can continue to enjoy their basic rights and freedoms in accordance with the law.
Some, not on the guest list, tried to stage a demonstration outside the venue. A protest that was quickly extinguished by police. On a day when they were braced for trouble. Riot officers sealed off a busy shopping area, ready to act quickly to stamp out any signs of unrest. They'd earlier denied permission for a march, citing COVID-19 and the potential for violence.
We cannot have a well-organized rally today, but I think most of the Hong Kong people will come out at the street to express their anger.
There were many arrests, taking to more than 10,000 the number of people detained in protests since last June.
The combined effect of the new security law plus social distancing measures means we've seen no repeat of the mass protests of a year ago. Conventional demonstrating in Hong Kong is now effectively over, but the movement behind the protests continues.
So people have had to become more creative in how they protest, like displaying the newspaper most critical of the government. There was some overt resistance though, with heckling and chanting of pro-independence slogans. In the Chinese capital, Beijing, the mood was very different. Not a mask in sight at a ceremony in Tiananmen Square, a mass gathering that would be hard to imagine in many other countries today, and a reminder of how life in China is returning to normal. A week-long holiday is likely to be a test, though, of the country's success in controlling the virus. Adrian Brown, Al Jazeera, Hong Kong.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows cloudy showers in the vicinity. Winds are easterly at 12 to 21 miles per hour. Seas are reaching 5 to 7 feet. Small craft operators should exercise caution against choppy seas. Expect mostly cloudy skies with a 60% or moderate chance of late afternoon showers and a slight chance of thunderstorms for today. Current temperature is 28.7 degrees Celsius. That's 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Expect cloudy skies with a mixture of brief overnight showers and/or lighter rain. Sunset today will be at 6:01 p.m. and the sun is expected to rise tomorrow at 5:58 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.